If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to Downfall Network for more cool content. What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I am Necrotic.
And I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you in our brand new Thralls Den? Something
I haven't figured out what we're going to call it yet.
We'll take suggestions. So anyway, we're going to review the debut album from Terminal Nation, Holocene Extinction. This came out on the 7th of August on 20 bucks spin. Another label that's having a pretty killer year.
Yeah.
Now, looking up stuff on this band, since they are very new, was a little difficult. They formed in 2014, I think, and they are from Little Rock, Arkansas. Now, these guys also have a couple of other EPs, including a split they did with Neckbeard Death Camp, and this is definitely one of these bands that blends hardcore and death metal, but again, not deathcore. This is very much in the vein of bands like Gatecreeper, Zabalba, stuff like that. And even they said their influences were specifically Napalm Death, Bolt Thrower, Dismember, Madball, and some other ones that I couldn't quite remember, but those were the main ones that stuck out, and I have to say, you definitely hear all of that.
Yeah, they're spot on with that sound. These guys are definitely a hardcore band geared towards death metal.
Yeah, honestly, it's definitely different than, like, say, Gatecreeper, especially, like, where I believe that is a death metal band that includes a lot of hardcore elements. This feels like a hardcore album, but it has death metal nods in it. The energy, the delivery, especially vocally, and you have, like, one main frontman and then two others that actually throw in their style of vocals, which range from different screams and shouts to even some clean chants here and there, which are used really effectively.
Yeah, everything fits really well, and they're definitely angry at you.
Yes, that's the hardcore feel right there.
Yeah,
like they're pissed.
They're pissed at the listener. Somebody f***ed up and bad.
Yeah, and I don't want to be them. Now, another cool thing that pops up on this album that I notice is maybe some crossover thrash influences. Like sometimes the blast beats on here, which are kind of like pockmarked,
yes,
they don't necessarily feel like death metal or grindcore. Sometimes they feel like a sort of crossover blast, which, you know, think like early DRI or Cryptic Slaughter, and that definitely kind of lends itself to that hardcore energy as well, because both of those groups seem to be pissed off at the same people pretty often.
Like when the first song leads in, Cognitive Dissonance, it's right off the bat, it's just nasty, dirty, gritty. It feels oppressive.
Yes.
The weight of everything.
I mean, you hear that very Swedish-y tone. It's very much in that realm of Entombed, of course, Dismember.
Yep.
But again, the feel on it is more hardcore. There are some breakdowns in here that feel definitely more death metal, like that song right there, I think, has a breakdown that feels very Obituary-esque. And I gotta say, when it comes down to breakdowns, which are frequent on here, but there's a lot of variance in them in terms of how they approach them. Sometimes they're more death metal, like this one, Cognitive Dissonance. Then you move on to the title track. The breakdowns feel extra hardcore-ish, especially they had in gang vocals on there. And I have to say, they kind of threw in a little bit of like a Morbid Angel tremolo melody in there, and it turns into a harmony as well. So these are interesting little nods they throw in.
And the lead work, it's not overly prevalent on this album. I think it only appears in 2 or 3 songs, but it's really tasty.
It's
very straightforward. There's nothing flashy, but what they do it well.
They definitely, you know, cater to like the hardcore sound, like you have those big dive bombs and squeals, but then you have some actual melodic solos, and there's even like a bluesier solo on Orange Bottle Prison, which I have to say is one of my favorite tracks on here. That song just whoops your ass. In particular, all these songs whoop your ass. That one, mainly because I think it's longer, it just beats the crap out of you for
and longer
ever.
I can't really say, you know, longer. It's more than a minute and a half. It's like it's a hardcore band but with grindcore length songs.
Occasionally, like the shorter songs are sort of used to break it up from the longer, more groove laden beat downs, but mostly those groovy songs are pretty short too, like 2.5 minutes. There are a couple of longer songs on here, namely Orange Bottle Prison, but that one is really interesting. Like the opening to that song is one of the heaviest moments on an already insanely heavy album. The riff on it is just nasty. The lead in, it just perfectly builds energy, and they are excellent at that.
It reminded me of like a Sabbathy type feel, but if Sabbath were grit, grit and more dirty than they are.
I mean, it's just nasty. There is like a flat out like DB almost punk section on here that's pretty much Dismember meets Hatebreed, and I absolutely love how it slows down in the end, and this bluesy solo comes in over, again, another absolutely gigantic riff. There are no small riffs on this album. Everything is huge.
No, well, and I like too how a lot of times in albums like these you'll catch some like synth or something or some crap beyond some spoken word parts that I think they had in there. I really like how they use the guitars to create that ambience, and not so much in by way of like a tremolo or a riff, but they use squeals and feedback and you know, like pick slides and just
to make it more disgusting and unwelcoming, especially if you're whoever they're talking about. Well, you probably shouldn't buy this album, but if you aren't, definitely get this album. It's awesome. Now, at a certain point, I was like, okay, we've heard pretty much everything in their formula, but then right around the middle of the album, we get a nice little surprise. Leather Envy and Expired Utopia, two songs that really stood out to me. Leather Envy is pretty much a straight up grindcore song.
Yep.
In fact, his delivery is very, very much like Barney Greenway.
Very much.
And in between these like nasty grindcore blasts, you get like a kind of classic Biohazard stomp. And then you get to Expired Utopia, which completely caught us off guard because it's an instrumental and it's a flat-out Death Doom instrumental.
Yes.
None of the hardcore aspects are really in there. It is all Death Doom. The melody is fiercely melancholy and depressive.
And that bass guitar is so evil.
It snarls.
You
can hear it snarling.
Yeah.
This was probably the most different track on here. Like, it went from pretty much all the bands we dropped before to like Paradise Lost, Hooded Menace, Temple of Void, bands that are noted for that big depressive atmosphere. And I absolutely love that change pace because it came at the right moment. Like, because at that point we're like, all right, maybe it's getting a little formulaic. And the pace of this album is breakneck. They don't allow a lot of, break up in between songs. Like, no, on to the next punishment. It's like, well, I'm already bleeding from the first hit. Okay, I'm going to get punched in the stomach now. Cool.
Yeah, the breakdowns in this album should be changed to beatdowns because that's what's happening. They're beating someone with a sledgehammer.
if I could say one thing I would knock on this band, and it doesn't really have a big knock, it's they keep it on the gas at all times, but there are moments when they should really take it off, and Expired Utopia was a nice break from that, but pretty much when you get to Death for Profit, which really leads in well from that instrumental. Like, it actually keeps that depressive mood.
Yeah, they did a good job by keeping with the current mode they were with. Coming off of Expired Utopia, it really had a doom-laden feel to it, and Death for Profit kind of piggybacks off that, at least for the first minute of the song or so.
And then it breaks into, like, death grind.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they had this nice little segue in between, but man, they love just laying on the intensity and the absolute abrasiveness of this album. It is just nasty. I think this is something that has to be seen live.
Well, and that too, and the overall mix of this album just lets me know it's going to be loud live.
The mix is solid.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really is.
They really nailed that, like, that sound pretty much, known, for like Gate Creeper, Zabalba. It's heavy, but it's well mixed.
And I love the end of Death for Profit. Those gang vocals that are in there. It's like the whole band is screaming at you to let you know that they provide a valuable service. Really, I think Tim Lambesis should have called these guys to carry out a hit.
I also like the fact that there's a false ending on this song. Like, just when you think it's done, boom, it picks up again. It's pretty much a "we're not done yet, motherfucker, sit down."
In the song Disciple of Deceit, it's where I'm beginning to notice that I really do like the vocal content. Although they're kind of hokey, to be honest.
Sometimes there's like a TikTok thing in the title track.
like in the end of this song, they called whoever they're yelling at a bastard. Just flat out called him a bastard.
I trust their judgment.
No one likes liars. They're beating the liars, especially when those liars are deceitful disciples.
Beat 'em.
Beat him. They definitely beat him with a shovel in this song.
All around, this was a really fun listen, a really abrasive listen. I mean, honestly, like, the entire time I was listening to this, like, this is legit anger. It doesn't feel fake at all, and I think that's the real hardcore side coming out. And I would say this is predominantly a hardcore album.
Dude, the outro on Age of Turmoil, they really labor that point.
It is an Age of Turmoil. But yeah, like, this is just an abrasive listen, and again, this is a hardcore band that loves death metal, not the other way around, and they're exceedingly good at it.
Yes.
So overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. I think this is an absolute banger, and I love this trend of these hardcore mixed with old school death metal. Like, you get all the groove on both sides there and all the intensity, riffs aplenty, and these guys are another solid example of it. Definitely check out this album. I'm probably going to order it after this review.
Yeah, I'm probably going to too, actually. Yeah, I agree with Nick pretty much on everything at this point. I also give it 4 stars. I really like the further trend in music where bands are backing away from that kind of really polished sound, you know, where everything sounds like it was created in a fucking box versus in a studio. And I like to see bands getting back to the trend of that grit and grime, especially if you're going to release a project like this where it's supposed to be angry. Like, this sounded disturbing.
Yeah.
Disturbingly angry. Like, I felt bad for the bastard.
And this is what you're going to get live. Like, you are going to get something very close to the mix and the overall sound on this album versus live. It is just...
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier, like who we'd book this band with. I'm thinking Nails and Outer Heaven.
So, if you like the review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. And we're on Instagram.
And if you noticed, today we actually posted a video. Gonna start to be a little bit more active on Instagram, and I realize I have bands waiting in tow for What's John Jamming. It's coming after we do this Black Sabbath thing that we're doing. So yeah, that's been a trek.
Yep,
anyway,
a fun trek.
Yeah, we're on Instagram. If you're an unsigned band or underground, or you've been around for a while and you want another push, come over to Instagram, drop me off a PR kit and a link to your album. I'll go ahead and review the album, and we'll get you a push back out there, because it seems like people kind of like Thralls of Metal these days. So
I like Thralls of Metal.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. You made a smart choice by clicking here. Not gonna lie.
It's the least worst thing
That,
you can
and we
do.
have some more entertaining things coming that we've been discussing even this evening. So keep your eyes peeled. Fun stuff coming from Thralls.
So with that, I thank you all very much for watching, and we will catch you later.
Take care.